You can't survive a minute against me, human. The alien princess didn't know who she faced. This was the seat of power for Princess Aralix, a young alien heir known for her skill in combat and her unshakable pride. She had grown up hearing tales of the weakness of humans. According to her, they were fragile, inexperienced, and far beneath the warriors of her people, and she had never met a human strong enough to challenge her belief. That morning, the sky above the palace shimmered with the arrival of a human delegation. Their sleek ships descended gracefully, reflecting the sunlight in dazzling streaks. Captain Marcus led the group. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with eyes that seemed to measure every detail, every potential threat. Unlike the alien warriors who surrounded him, his movements were calm and deliberate. He carried no visible weapons, only a small sidearm strapped at his hip, yet his presence alone demanded attention. Inside the palace, Aralix prepared for the reception. She adjusted her armor, which gleamed like liquid silver, reflecting both her beauty and her deadly skill. Her attendants whispered in awe, praising her combat prowess, her intelligence, and her charm. But Aralix felt only anticipation. The humans were coming here into her palace, and she intended to show them their place. When Marcus and his delegation arrived at the throne room, the doors opened with a soft hum. Aralix descended the central staircase, her posture perfect, her expression one of supreme confidence. The humans paused, clearly impressed by the alien majesty around them, but Marcus's gaze was steady. He did not flinch, did not bow. He met her eyes directly. "You are Captain Marcus, I presume?" Aralix said, her voice light but filled with authority. "I have heard much about human soldiers, and yet you look ordinary, fragile perhaps." Her tone carried a teasing sharpness. "Do you truly believe you can survive here among my people?" The alien soldiers whispered to one another, casting doubtful glances at the human. Surely he would falter. Surely the princess would need only a moment to remind him of his weakness. Aralix smiled, her lips curling with amusement. "A challenge, you say? Then perhaps we shall test your claim. A duel," she said. 1 minute. 1 minute against me. Let us see if you survive." A strength that came not from arrogance but from experience. The attendants prepared the arena immediately. It was a large platform suspended above the palace's central courtyard, protected by energy barriers to ensure safety. Floating drones hovered around, recording the duel from every angle. The citizens of the Empire who had gathered to witness this event buzzed with excitement. Few had expected humans to come so far into alien territory, and even fewer believed that a human could survive a fight against the princess. Aralix stepped onto the platform first. Her movements were fluid and precise, the grace of a trained warrior evident in every step. She held 2 energy blades, their edges glowing with intense light. The hum of the weapons filled the air, sending a clear message. She was ready. Marcus followed, his steps deliberate but measured. He carried no visible weapon, yet his posture showed readiness. He scanned the arena, noting the positions of the floating drones and the structure of the platform. His eyes reflected a mind that was already calculating every possible move, every advantage he could take. Aralix's eyes narrowed. She had expected to face fear or hesitation, not calm and focus. "Do you realize what you are about to face, human?" she asked, her tone almost teasing, almost cruel. "I am trained from birth to fight and win. You will not survive a minute against me." Marcus stepped aside smoothly, dodging the strike with an ease that surprised even the royal guards. He countered with a quick sidestep, keeping his balance perfectly on the moving platform. The crowd gasped. No human had ever moved with such precision, let alone avoided the attacks of the princess. Aralix's brow furrowed in surprise. She had not expected her first strike to fail. And yet Marcus remained calm, his eyes never leaving hers, as if reading her every move before she made it. Aralix tried again, faster this time, spinning in a series of attacks designed to overwhelm. Marcus responded with patience, dodging each strike and using her own momentum against her. The platform seemed alive with their movements, energy blades flashing, shadows dancing, and the hum of power filling the air. "You are stronger than I imagined," Aralix admitted quietly, though her pride prevented her from showing full respect. But strength alone does not win a duel. Awareness, patience, and timing matter as well. The floating arena above the palace courtyard had grown silent after the first round of the duel. The air shimmered with tension as spectators, both alien and human, waited for the next phase of the fight. Princess Aralix stepped forward, her eyes blazing with determination. She would not let this human, this Captain Marcus, tarnish her reputation. He had survived the first encounter, but she would ensure he could not do so again. Marcus, on the other hand, moved with a quiet grace. He studied the platform, noting every corner, every floating drone, and every energy barrier. He did not rush. His movements were deliberate, measured, and precise. He understood that to face a warrior like Aralix, he needed more than strength. He needed strategy, patience, and focus. The princess raised her energy blades, their edges glowing a bright blue, reflecting the sunlight in dazzling arcs. Marcus kept his stance relaxed but ready, his eyes locked on hers. He knew that in this duel it was not just about surviving, it was about understanding his opponent. Every warrior had a rhythm, a pattern, a weakness hidden beneath the surface. His task was to find it. Aralix lunged first, faster than before. Her blades cut through the air with a high-pitched hiss, creating trails of light that dazzled the eyes. Marcus sidestepped smoothly, letting her momentum carry her past him. The crowd gasped, their disbelief growing with each moment. They had expected an easy victory for the princess, yet here she was, struggling to land a strike on a single human. Marcus countered with a movement so fluid it almost looked like a dance. He used the energy from her strikes against her, guiding her momentum and keeping her off balance. Every step he took was precise, ensuring that he maintained perfect control over the arena. "You are fast," Aralix admitted, her voice tight with frustration. "But speed alone cannot win this duel. Timing, observation, and patience matter more." Aralix shifted her stance and attacked again, combining rapid slashes with spins and jumps that would have overwhelmed any ordinary opponent. But Marcus remained a step ahead. He ducked, rolled, and sidestepped, never allowing her to gain an opening. He used the platform itself to his advantage, bouncing lightly off the edges and adjusting his weight to stay balanced on the moving surface. The audience watched in awe. Even the most seasoned alien warriors whispered among themselves, questioning everything they had believed about humans. Could it be that humans, long considered fragile and weak, were capable of such skill and strategy? Aralix's pride burned. She could not accept that a human might outmatch her, even partially. She focused, channeling all her energy into the next series of attacks. The hum of her blades grew louder, vibrating through the platform, filling the air with a sense of danger. Marcus moved calmly, letting her attack flow around him while looking for an opening. Suddenly, he saw it, a slight hesitation in her rhythm, a microsecond pause between two strikes. It was subtle but enough for a trained observer to notice. Marcus moved quickly, using a well-timed sidestep and a swift counter that disarmed one of her blades, sending it clattering across the platform. The crowd erupted in astonishment. The princess herself froze for a moment, eyes wide. No one had ever disarmed her in such a manner. Marcus stood firm, showing respect rather than aggression. Aralix retrieved her blade, her hands trembling slightly, though she forced herself to maintain her composure. You are not like any human I have ever met," she admitted, her voice tight. "There is skill and strength beyond what I imagined. Strength is not just in the body, it is in the mind and spirit as well." For the first time, Aralix felt the stirrings of doubt. She had always believed that humans were fragile, limited, and incapable of true combat mastery. And yet, here was Marcus, moving with the skill of a master and the patience of a strategist. He was not just surviving, he was teaching her something without a word. As the fight progressed, Marcus began using the environment in ways Arelix had not expected. He leapt off a floating platform edge, spinning midair and landing behind her with perfect balance. The move caught her off guard, forcing her to adjust mid-attack. She realized that his adaptability was unlike anything she had trained against. The crowd gasped again. Aliens whispered to one another, eyes wide. This human was demonstrating a level of combat intelligence that none of them had expected. Even the royal advisors, who had always dismissed humans as weak, leaned forward, their expressions a mix of fear and awe. Arelix's frustration grew, but so did her fascination. She had faced the strongest warriors of her people, and yet Marcus had not only survived, he had matched her in every aspect of combat. She began to question her assumptions, realizing that perhaps humans were not to be underestimated. Marcus saw the change in her demeanor. He knew that the duel was more than a physical contest. It was a battle of perception, of pride, of understanding. He continued to move with grace and precision, never striking unnecessarily, never showing aggression beyond what was required. His strategy was simple: demonstrate human strength, adaptability, and honor without cruelty. Arelix tried a final series of strikes, combining speed, power, and agility in a desperate attempt to gain the upper hand. Marcus dodged, countered, and even used her own movements against her, guiding her momentum to keep her off balance. Sparks flew, and the air filled with the hum of energy blades and the tension of the spectators. Finally, both warriors paused, breathing heavily but standing strong. Marcus lowered his stance slightly, offering a gesture of respect rather than victory. Arelix stood frozen, her mind racing. She had expected to humiliate the human, to prove her superiority, but instead she had been forced to acknowledge his extraordinary skill. The crowd erupted in applause, cheering for the human who had survived against the legendary princess. Aliens whispered among themselves, realizing that humans might be far more capable than they had ever imagined. Even some of Arelix's closest advisors looked at her with cautious curiosity, wondering what this could mean for the Empire. Arelix finally spoke, her voice calm but laced with awe. "You are impressive, human. I did not expect this." She paused, her pride battling with her fascination. "You have skill, patience, and courage. Perhaps humans are not as weak as I believed." "Strength comes in many forms, Princess. Humans survive because we learn, adapt, and endure. We face challenges and overcome them, not just with power but with thought and perseverance." The princess, once certain of her superiority, now faced a new reality. Humans were not just survivors. They were warriors in ways her people had never considered. And Marcus, through calm skill and honor, had begun to change not just her perception, but the perception of everyone watching. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting golden light across the palace, the duel came to a temporary pause. Arelix and Marcus stepped back, their breath steady but hearts racing. The arena had proven itself a stage not only for combat but for revelation. Humans, once dismissed as fragile, had shown strength, resilience, and intelligence that could rival even the most elite alien warriors. The princess's mind whirled with questions. Could humans truly be allies? Could they become partners or even equals in a galaxy where her people had always believed themselves superior? And more personally, what did it mean that a single human could challenge her in ways no alien ever had? Marcus, ever calm, observed her silently. He did not boast, he did not gloat. He had survived the first true test, and in doing so, had begun to plant the seeds of understanding and respect. The audience dispersed slowly, their excitement palpable. Word of the duel would spread quickly throughout the Empire, altering perceptions and sowing curiosity about humans. And above all, the princess herself would never forget this day, the day a human stood against her and proved that strength was more than physical power. As night fell, the palace lights glowed softly, reflecting the quiet but profound change that had begun. The duel had only just started, and both Arelix and Marcus knew that the next encounter would be even more intense. The human had survived the first challenge, but the story was far from over. In the quiet after the crowd had gone, Aralix remained on the platform, her gaze fixed on Marcus as he prepared to leave. Respect, curiosity, and a spark of admiration burned in her eyes. She had learned something invaluable today. Humans were unpredictable, resilient, and far more than she had ever imagined. And somewhere deep inside, she felt the stirring of something new, a recognition that the galaxy was about to change in ways she had never foreseen. The arena floated silently above the palace courtyard as dawn broke over the horizon, casting long shadows across the polished platforms. Princess Aralix stood at one edge, her energy blades glowing brightly in the morning light. She had spent the night replaying the previous duel in her mind, trying to understand how a human had survived her attacks. Captain Marcus, standing across from her, appeared calm, unshaken, and ready. His eyes met hers with steady focus, a silent message of determination and skill. The royal court and the gathered spectators had not yet arrived for this round, but word of the duel had spread quickly through the empire. Every alien who had heard of it whispered about the human strength, cleverness, and unwavering calm. Many of Aralix's advisors were astonished, their assumptions about humans shattered. Even the palace guards were uneasy, unsure if the princess's skill would be enough to finally subdue him. Aralix took a deep breath and lifted her blades. "This time, human, you will see the full measure of my skill," she said. Her voice was steady, though inside, a spark of doubt lingered. She had never met a warrior like Marcus. No alien had ever countered her moves so fluidly, so completely. She would not let pride or fear dictate the outcome. Today she would fight and she would win. Marcus nodded, lowering his shoulders slightly, his stance relaxed but alert. "I am ready," he said calmly. "Show me what you have." Marcus moved quickly, sidestepping, ducking, and using the edges of the floating platform to maintain balance. He let her momentum carry her past him, then shifted, using her speed against her. The princess's eyes widened in surprise. Marcus had learned quickly. His movements were no longer reactive, they were predictive. He anticipated her attacks, matching her rhythm while exploiting the smallest gaps in her defense. "You are faster than I expected," Aralix admitted, though her pride would not allow her to sound impressed. "But I will not be defeated by a human." And we observe carefully. Marcus began using the environment to his advantage. He jumped off the platform's edges, landed lightly on narrow ledges, and shifted his weight with perfect balance. Every move was calculated, every dodge precise. Aralix realized that she was facing not just a human, but a master strategist, one who could think several steps ahead even while under pressure. Her frustration grew, but so did her fascination. She had trained all her life to defeat opponents through speed, skill, and experience. Marcus had none of the history of her people's elite warriors, yet he matched them all in instinct, intelligence, and resilience. Her pride would not allow her to lose, yet a part of her could not deny the truth. Humans were extraordinary. The floating drones recorded every moment, and the crowd that had gathered began to whisper excitedly. Aliens who had always dismissed humans as weak now watched in disbelief. Every strike, every counter, every movement of Marcus displayed an intelligence and discipline no one had expected. Aralix pushed herself harder. She launched a flurry of strikes, faster and more unpredictable than ever. Marcus met each one with calm precision, guiding her energy against her own momentum and maintaining perfect balance on the shifting platform. He was not trying to overpower her. He was controlling the fight with skill, patience, and strategy. The princess paused for a brief moment, breathing steadily, and studied him carefully. There was no fear in his eyes, no hesitation, only focus. How can a human fight like this? She wondered aloud, almost to herself. There must be something extraordinary about him. And we find ways to turn obstacles into opportunities. She was forced to adapt quickly, to think beyond her training, and to recognize that Marcus's strength was not in raw power. It was in his mind, his strategy, and his ability to read her every move. The duel reached a critical moment. Arilix leapt high into the air, aiming a powerful strike directly at Marcus. He ducked, rolled, and sprang to his feet behind her in a single motion. With a swift, well-timed move, he disarmed one of her blades again, forcing her to regain control quickly. The crowd gasped, astonished at the human's skill. Aliens whispered among themselves, some in disbelief, others in awe. The princess herself froze for a moment, her pride battling with the realization of her miscalculation. Marcus had not just survived, he had proven himself capable of mastering the battlefield with skill and intelligence beyond any expectation. You are truly remarkable, Arilix admitted, her voice steady but tinged with awe. I have never met a human like you. You think, you adapt, you endure, you are more than I imagined. Strength comes in many forms, princess, he said. It is not always brute force. It is patience, strategy, and understanding one's opponent. And it is never giving up, even when the odds seem impossible. He used every aspect of the environment, every shift of his weight, every movement of her body to maintain control without cruelty. The battle became a dance, a perfect balance of offense and defense, strength and strategy. For the first time, Arilix felt genuine respect. She had believed herself unmatched, but Marcus had proven that a human could survive, adapt, and even challenge her in ways no alien ever had. Her pride still burned, but now it was mixed with curiosity and admiration. The fight reached its climax. Arilix launched her final assault, a combination of rapid strikes and complex maneuvers meant to overwhelm any opponent. Marcus met her every move, countering with precision, using her speed against her and guiding her momentum with intelligence rather than force. Sparks flew, the hum of energy blades filled the air, and the tension was nearly unbearable. Finally, both warriors paused, standing firm, breathing steadily, yet filled with adrenaline. Marcus lowered his stance slightly, a silent gesture of respect. Arilix's eyes met his, wide with realization. She had expected to defeat him, but he had matched her in skill, patience, and understanding. He had not just survived, he had earned her respect. The audience erupted in applause, cheering for the human who had defied every expectation. Aliens whispered, realizing that humans were more capable than they had ever believed. Even the royal advisors, who had long dismissed humans as weak, leaned forward, considering what this could mean for their empire. Arilix sheathed her blades, her pride intact, but her perspective changed. "You have shown me, human," she said quietly, almost to herself. "That strength is more than muscle. It is thought, patience, and courage." Arilix's assumptions had been shattered. The perception of humans across the empire had begun to shift, and Marcus had proven that courage and intelligence could overcome even the greatest skill. The princess looked at him, curiosity and respect shining in her eyes. She had faced many warriors, but none like Marcus. This human had taught her something important. That power was not only in strength, but in the mind and heart of a warrior. As the sun climbed higher, casting light across the palace, Arilix realized that the duel was far from over. The next encounter would test both of them even more, challenging her pride and his resolve. But for the first time, she acknowledged the possibility. Perhaps humans were not to be underestimated. Marcus stepped back from the arena, his calm presence leaving a lasting impression. The crowd dispersed slowly, still buzzing with excitement and disbelief. Aliens who had doubted humans now whispered of possibilities, while the princess remained, contemplating what she had learned. The duel had changed more than just the outcome of a fight. It had begun to change the way the galaxy saw humans, and perhaps how they would see Arilix herself. For she had learned a lesson that would stay with her forever. Never underestimate a human, for their strength lies not only in their body but in their spirit. And above all, the next round of the duel promised even greater revelations, more skill, more strategy, and a chance for both warriors to discover the true limits of strength, honor, and courage. The floating arena glowed under the morning light as Princess Aralix stepped forward once more, her energy blades humming with renewed intensity. She had spent the night thinking about the human captain, Marcus. He had survived her attacks, matched her speed, and countered her moves with intelligence and strategy she had never before seen in any opponent. Her pride demanded victory, yet a part of her now felt respect and curiosity. Could a human truly be so capable? Marcus stood opposite her, calm as ever, his stance relaxed but ready. He had anticipated this next encounter. He knew Aralix's pride would drive her to push harder, to fight with everything she had, and he was ready to meet her challenge with patience, precision, and skill. The royal court and spectators had gathered once again. Word of the previous rounds had spread across the empire, and excitement buzzed through the air. Aliens whispered, astonished that a human had not only survived but also displayed a level of combat mastery that rivaled the princess herself. Many were beginning to question everything they had believed about humanity. Aralix raised her blades. "Today, human, you will see the true power of an Aralix warrior," she declared. Her voice carried through the arena, firm and confident. "Prepare yourself." The first few exchanges were a blur, sparks flying as blade met empty air, and the hum of energy filled the arena. The princess changed her tactics, combining speed with complex patterns of attack. She leapt, spun, and struck from unpredictable angles. Marcus responded with grace and intelligence, using her own momentum against her while maintaining perfect balance on the floating platform. Every movement was calculated, every counter precise. The spectators gasped in awe. The fight had escalated to levels none had expected. Marcus was no longer simply surviving. He was demonstrating strategy, adaptability, and skill that made even the most elite alien warriors whisper in disbelief. Aralix felt a mix of frustration and fascination. No human should be able to match her in combat, yet Marcus did. He anticipated her moves, guided her energy, and remained calm under pressure. He was not only strong, he was extraordinary in ways she could hardly comprehend. You are unlike any human I have ever met," she admitted quietly, almost to herself. "There is strength, patience, and intelligence, beyond what I imagined." Aralix's attacks became more daring, her movements faster and more unpredictable. Marcus met each strike with precision, dodging, countering, and using the platform itself to his advantage. He bounced lightly off the edges, shifted his weight expertly, and remained perfectly balanced. Each move he made displayed not just survival but mastery. Aralix realized something remarkable. Marcus was not relying on brute force. He was using intelligence, observation, and patience. He was turning her skill against her, not out of malice but out of understanding. Every move, every dodge, every counter demonstrated a level of strategy she had never seen in any alien warrior. The princess's pride flared, yet she could not deny her growing respect. She had trained all her life to be the strongest, and yet Marcus challenged her in ways she had never imagined. He had survived her attacks, countered with precision, and displayed honor and calm that no opponent had ever shown. The duel reached its climax. Aralix launched a final, powerful combination, an array of rapid strikes, spinning leaps, and precise thrusts meant to overwhelm even the most skilled fighter. Marcus moved with perfect timing, dodging and countering without striking aggressively. He guided her energy, using her momentum to maintain control while avoiding injury. For the first time, Aralix felt true amazement. She had expected to defeat him, yet Marcus had not only survived, he had matched her in skill, intelligence, and calmness. Her pride wrestled with awe. How could a human possess such extraordinary qualities? The audience held its breath as the princess paused mid-attack. Marcus stood steady, his focus unbroken, a silent demonstration of respect and honor. The energy in the arena was electric. Aliens whispered among themselves, realizing that humans were far more capable than they had ever believed. The royal advisors, who had long dismissed humanity, now looked on with awe and curiosity. Aralix lowered her blade slowly, breathing evenly. "You have proven something remarkable, human," she said. "Strength is not always in power alone. It is in patience, thought, and courage. You have shown me that humans are far more capable than I imagined." Even the palace guards, trained to witness great duels, whispered among themselves in disbelief. The princess had acknowledged the human skill, something almost unheard of in their culture. Erlich stepped back, her pride intact but tempered with respect. "I have underestimated humans," she admitted. "You are clever, strong, and honorable. Perhaps I should rethink what I believed about your kind." Humans, once dismissed as weak and fragile, had demonstrated courage, intelligence, and strength that rivaled the most elite alien warriors. Marcus had survived, adapted, and earned respect without arrogance or cruelty. Erlich watched him leave the arena, a spark of admiration in her eyes. She realized that humans were not just survivors, they were extraordinary. Their strength lay not only in their bodies but in their minds, their hearts, and their spirit. Marcus had shown her the true meaning of resilience and honor. The palace buzzed with whispers and speculation. The human captain had changed perceptions across the empire. Aliens who had doubted humans now saw potential allies, partners, and warriors worth respecting. Even the royal advisors, who had once dismissed humanity, considered what this new understanding could mean for the empire's future. Erlich, standing alone on the platform, reflected on what she had learned. Pride and arrogance could be dangerous, she realized. Underestimating others could lead to unexpected consequences. Marcus had taught her a lesson she would never forget. Never judge strength by appearance alone, and never underestimate the spirit of a human. The princess's thoughts turned to the future. Could humans become allies? Could they truly play a role in the galaxy that her people had long controlled? She did not yet have the answers, but she knew that Captain Marcus had opened a door she could not ignore. Marcus, leaving the arena, felt a quiet sense of accomplishment. He had faced the challenge, survived, and earned respect, not through cruelty or arrogance, but through patience, skill, and honor. The duel had proven that humans could endure, adapt, and rise to challenges that many believed impossible. As the palace lights glimmered in the morning sun, Erlich remained thoughtful. She had fought and witnessed something extraordinary. Humans, she realized, were a force to be reckoned with, not just in strength, but in strategy, intelligence, and character. Marcus had survived, yes, but more importantly, he had shown her the true potential of humanity. The story of the duel would spread across the empire, inspiring awe and changing perceptions. Erlich had learned a lesson in respect, humility, and understanding. The humans had earned their place in the galaxy, not through conquest or aggression, but through resilience, adaptability, and honor. The princess lowered her gaze, a spark of curiosity in her eyes. She knew that this was not the end. The encounter had changed her perspective and opened a path to understanding, collaboration, and perhaps even friendship. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and full of surprises, and humans were far stronger and more capable than she had ever imagined. As Marcus departed, Erlich watched him from the platform. Her heart still burned with pride, yet now it was tempered with awe. She had faced a human warrior and learned a truth she could not ignore. Strength is not always measured by what you see, but by what lies within. And humanity had proven itself in one duel to be a force worthy of respect, recognition, and perhaps even admiration. The floating arena grew quiet as the crowd dispersed, still buzzing with excitement and disbelief. The duel had ended, but its impact would resonate for years. The princess and the human captain had forged a silent understanding, a mutual respect that would shape the way humans and aliens interacted across the galaxy. Erlich sheathed her blades, her mind alive with new possibilities. She had underestimated humans, but she would not make that mistake again. Marcus had changed her perspective, teaching her a lesson she would never forget. Strength, she realized, was not only in power, it was in strategy, intelligence, courage, and the will to endure. Humans had shown her all of these qualities, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again. For Princess Aralix, the duel was more than a test of skill, it was a revelation. For Captain Marcus, it was a proof of humanity's resilience and honor. And for the Empire, it was the beginning of a new understanding, a recognition that humans were a force to be respected, and perhaps even admired. The duel had ended, but the story of their encounter had only just begun. And the galaxy, wide and full of possibilities, was watching. For the first time in her life, Aralix felt the stirrings of doubt. Could this human truly match her skill? Could he survive a minute against her as he claimed? She pushed these thoughts aside, focusing on the fight, her pride refusing to allow fear. The crowd was on the edge of their seats, watching in astonishment as the duel unfolded. Alien warriors whispered among themselves, questioning their assumptions about humans. Many had dismissed them as weak, unworthy of serious consideration. But here was a human, standing tall, countering the princess with skill, strategy, and calm determination. After several minutes, Aralix paused for a brief moment, breathing lightly but steadily. Marcus did the same, his eyes still focused, his stance unyielding. The first round of the duel had ended in a surprising stalemate. Neither had gained the upper hand, yet both had demonstrated extraordinary skill. The silence that followed was heavy. Aralix's pride was bruised, though she refused to show it. She looked at Marcus with a new awareness. He was no ordinary human. Perhaps, she thought, humans were not as weak as her people had believed. Marcus lowered his stance slightly, signaling respect rather than victory. "You are a remarkable warrior, princess," he said. "I am honored to face you." She had expected fear, or at least hesitation, not this calm acknowledgement. Her heart pounded with a mix of anger, curiosity, and intrigue. The crowd murmured among themselves. Many were astonished. They had come expecting the human to be humiliated, yet now they saw the princess forced to recognize the strength of her opponent. Even the royal advisors leaned forward, whispering about the implications of what they had just witnessed. Aralix sheathed her blades with a sharp motion, her pride returning slowly. She would not admit defeat, not yet. But deep inside, she knew this human was different. He was clever, strong, and disciplined. He was a challenge unlike any she had faced before. As Marcus stepped back from the arena, the attendants prepared the platform for the next round. Aralix's mind raced with new questions. Who was this human? Where had he gained such skill? And most importantly, what would it mean for her, her reputation, and the empire if humans were capable of more than she had ever imagined? The first part of the duel had ended, but the story was only beginning. The princess, once certain of her superiority, now faced a puzzle she could not yet solve. And Marcus, calm and unwavering, had already begun to change the way the alien court saw humanity. In that moment, high above the palace courtyard, the battle lines were drawn. Not just of skill, but of understanding, respect, and the promise of a challenge that neither the princess nor the human would forget. The air shimmered with tension and anticipation, for the next round would determine much more than victory or defeat. It would begin to reshape the fate of humans in the galaxy.